Now, your forecast first, sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. So, yeah, it is warm, and it's even more warm than what it was in the past few days. Plus, more of the mugginess is in the air, too, with some of the additional clouds that we have in the skies for us. You could see maybe a sprinkle or two here or there, but generally, we're going to say dry temperatures in the mid-70s, but we don't get as hot because we keep more of those clouds in place. Plus, we'll see that small chance of rain later into the day. We'll talk about that chance, plus we'll give you the latest on what's happening with Hurricane Laura and talk about a cool down that's going to be nice for us into the weekend and next work week coming up. Mac and Christy, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, Adam. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm McLeod Egeman.
And I'm Christy Batista. Hopefully your morning is off to a good start. It is over here.
Yeah, so far so good. First cup of coffee so far. We'll see how many more we'll get.
I'm always on my third when you're on your first.
On my first?
How does that happen?
I can't do too much caffeine. I get too jittery, and then my brain and my mouth don't match up, so that's a problem.
Especially in this field.
Yes. No bueno.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
We were not notified directly either by the CDC or the state of the change.
Central Illinois health departments were caught off guard by the CDC's latest COVID-19 testing guidelines. Some say it directly contradicts the previous federal recommendations during the pandemic. The CDC is now saying that people exposed to COVID-19 who don't have symptoms do not need to be tested.
And the CDC did not explain why they made that change. WCI3's Jennifer Jensen explains.
Local public health officials are confronting unexpected news during the COVID-19 pandemic.
We were surprised to hear that there was even a new recommendation.
The CDC's new recommendation says if you have been in close contact within 6 feet of a person with a COVID-19 infection for at least 15 minutes but do not have symptoms, you do not necessarily need a test unless you're a vulnerable individual or your healthcare provider or state or local health officials recommend you take one. This is a stark contrast to the previous guidelines health departments have stood by. Awais Vade with Champaign-Urbana Public Health Districts believes this is the wrong message to give people during such a critical time.
This is something that we do not agree at all. This is taking us a step back. This is not March of 2020. We are 6 months into this pandemic, and we have the resources to test a lot of people in this community. And why would we not?
Vade says there's a reason they continue to recommend people get tested.
A lot of individuals that we are seeing, cases, are asymptomatic. Unless you test, how are you going to find out if you're positive or not? And while you're asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic before you become positive, you are spreading this to many other people.
As it has been in the past, people are put in a 14-day quarantine if they've been in close contact with someone who tested positive for coronavirus. Doug Toole with Vermilion County Health Department says regardless if those people get tested, the quarantine should keep the virus from spreading in those cases.
The incubation period can take a while. And we find that folks tend to rush out. It's like, oh my gosh, I was around someone who tested positive. I got to get tested today. Well, it can take 7 days or so before it's going to show up.
Early on into the morning, we are noticing more of the cloud coverage across central Illinois, especially in comparison to the past few mornings. Now, the farther north you go, you're going to see a little more sunshine. Champaign, cloudy and gloomy. Same in Charleston, Mattoon. Gibson City noticing a decent amount of clouds as well. As we go throughout the day, though, we are going to notice some of these breaking apart and eventually maybe some better rain chances coming along with some of these clouds. As far as the here and now, you got a few sprinkles across Christian County, Sangamon County, getting closer to maybe northern Shelby County. That's about it as far as the rain right now. And you got more rain farther north and west, and then you got some of that heading across southern parts of Canada too. But our front's going to be coming from the north, and that eventually arrives heading more so into Friday. Of course, the big game in town. This is going to be heading its way northward and getting close to us, and we're going to show you, and we're going to try to find a camera down into those parts because a lot of them are not reporting right now. Those cameras are down from Hurricane Laura as it's made its way up and it's into more of the Louisiana inland area. 75 in Champaign, 74 in Effingham. Headlines today, an isolated chance of a shower or a storm, but we do have Laura moving closer to the area. Most of it will be south, but we'll talk about how close it gets, plus the cool down behind here in a bit. Christy?
Thanks, Adam. Now for an update this morning on an accidental shooting involving a 3-year-old in Springfield. Police confirm the child got a hold of their guardian's gun and got hurt. The child should be all right, though the gun was registered, but it was not kept in a proper case or locked up. Police have contacted DCFS.
Well, a Springfield man will be arraigned next month for a hit-and-run crash involving a 7-year-old. Charges have been filed against 62-year-old Bernard Fokum-Dinga for leaving the scene of an accident with personal injury. Now, police say he confessed to hitting 7-year-old Jax Thornley while he was riding his bike home from a friend's house. He could face up to 10 years in prison if found guilty. Well, a woman who drove off an unfinished bridge in Champaign has been sentenced to 6 years in prison.
We told you about her sentencing on the morning show. Asia Marshall was charged with a DUI last September. That crash was all caught on another driver's dash cam. You can see the moment Marshall drove into the concrete barriers and crashed near I-57. Months later, she got a second DUI. That was dismissed as part of a deal to get her to plead guilty for the bridge one. In the sentencing, Marshall's mother took the stand in her defense, saying her daughter is working on bettering her life.
She's currently taking medication. She's doing 100% better than what she was doing. And in 6 years for a DUI, aggravated DUI, with people that were willingly in the car with her doing the same thing that she was doing, that's unfair. That's really unfair.
The judge also recommended that she get mental health treatment during her sentence.
Well, now for a news follow-up story this morning. A Beecher City man has been convicted of concealing a homicidal death. Aaron Kaiser will be sentenced in October. He and Christopher Glass were arrested after the body of Kimberly Mattingly was found on property owned by Kaiser's parents. He lived there at the time. Mattingly had been missing for nearly a month. Glass is set to go to trial for murder at some point next month.
State police are investigating the death of an inmate and the hospitalization of another at Iroquois County Jail. The coroner says 24-year-old Andre Maiden was found unresponsive and later pronounced dead. An autopsy hasn't been scheduled yet, and officials haven't released any details. We spoke with his brother, and he says he talked to him on the phone recently and was told he was sick and throwing up. He says they're confused because they don't have any answers as to how he died.
I'm angry because I just talked to my brother, and all he wanted was me to tell my dad to have his lawyer call for an ambulance because they wouldn't give him one, and that's what I did. And by next, I got a call that my brother was dead, all because he couldn't get the medical help he needed.
We have reached out to state police for more information, but they wouldn't give anything else out right now. Another inmate was found unresponsive and is in critical condition in the hospital. Police have not said who that inmate is. Well, every day someone gets a life-saving organ transplant.
And if you didn't already know, August is National Minority Donor Awareness Month. WCIA3's Karina Rubio joins us live in the newsroom to share one special story this morning. Karina.
Hey, Matt, Christy, good morning. The Gift of Hope Organ and Tissue Network Springfield office helps connect thousands of organ donors with recipients. Now, the group says experts have found that a transplant is far more successful if it comes from someone who shares the same ethnic background as you. In Illinois, 60% of people waiting for life-saving organs are ethnic minorities, but only a third are registered donors. Champaign local Jim McFarland was waiting 9 years ago when he was in stage 4 kidney failure.
We are not donating organs at the same rate we're receiving organs. They got to come from somewhere. And it just seems natural that we would want to help Black Lives Matter in another way. There are people out there who are in desperate need of transplants, and what we can do to help, we should do.
McFarland says his kidney came from a 6-year-old black girl who passed away unexpectedly, and that's why he says this month is important. Reporting live in the newsroom, Karina Rubio, WCIA3, your local news leader.
Many farmers benefit from brushing up on their research every year.
And coming up in this morning's report from the farm, we'll explain how Central Illinois councils are helping feed people around the world. I'll be right back.